Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. I'm Jason. Um, yeah, thanks for tuning in to my live stream. It's a Friday afternoon here in Kansas. Yesterday it snowed a little bit, not too much. Pretty much snow is all gone when I got up this morning. So not too bad. Still pretty cold outside. It's in the 30-degree area, or temperature wise. Anyway, so of course, we're in the midst of March Madness, one of the best sporting events of the year for me, college basketball. As you can see, I support the Kansas Jayhawks, my favorite team. They won yesterday, so they're going to play in the second round against Arkansas tomorrow around 4 p.m. my time. So yeah, excited to see them hopefully win tomorrow and get to the Sweet 16. If you don't know, the Kansas Jayhawks won the tournament last year, so they're the defending champions. So, really hoping they can go far again this year. As always, if they lose, then the season's over. Anyways, but yeah, so that's exciting, and also, of course, happy St. Patrick's Day to all my Irish friends out there. Which I know I just got Lisa, is I think the only person I know from Ireland. It wasn't exactly a great day for Ireland in the Oscars, as Banshees and Sharon, I believe, came out with no wins, really surprisingly. But there was like an Irish documentary or something like that, short documentary that won, I believe. So at least they got that win. Anyway, so yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. Here to talk about the Oscar ceremony that happened this last Sunday. Um, if you know me, I been obsessed with the Oscars for probably 30 years almost of my life, or pretty close to it. It's always been a big deal to me growing up, and watching the Oscar ceremony is kind of the end all of the award season. It's the big one. It's one you want to win the most. It really solidifies you as one of the great, of whatever field you're in. It's definitely the biggest achievement you can get in movies, and so it's always fun to see who does the Academy think is the best of the year, and to a lot of times they get it wrong, but it's still kind of fun to kind of see what is this consensus thought of the Academy and people inside the industry, all that. Anyway, so yeah, the Oscars have been pretty terrible lately, but I still watch them and get some enjoyment out of them. I got Hey Norin, how you doing? Yep, I'm live. Talking about the Oscar ceremony, and I'm gonna go through the Oscar categories too, and my thoughts on who won and how I predicted them and all that. But yeah, talking about the Leprechaun 4 in space. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've heard. Hey, Drew, nice to see you. Um, yeah, so I mean, I watched the Oscars. Luckily, I was off work, so I could watch it, and it was actually pretty fun because Elliot from IMO Reviews was doing a Oscar watch live stream, and Josh from Through the Lens was on there as well. So we had a lot of fun. I think everybody in the group, and it got a decent turnout, and we all had fun in the chats, talking about what was going on and everything. And so it was a fun time. It was actually one of the funnest Oscar ceremonies I've got to experience because I got to share it with some friends and so forth. So usually I'm just watching the Oscars by myself because nobody really cares about it. Um, but yeah, I'd say overall the Oscar ceremony, I mean, still not great. I think it was somewhat of a step up uh, in a sense. It's still, too long. Of course, 3.5 hours. That's about how the Oscars usually is. It always goes way too long. Um, and and it's not that they dragged it a whole lot, just so much that they put into that ceremony. And there's so many commercials. I suppose what makes it so long is you do like one or two awards, and then you got a bunch of commercials, or you do a song and you get a bunch of commercials, and that elongates it so much. And there's not much you can do about that. So how can you shorten the Oscars? I mean, I said I think they should cut down the Oscars from 23 categories to like 10 categories. Like, I only really care about maybe 10 categories out of all of them. I mean, still give people Oscars, I don't care about that. Just I don't need to see everybody get up and give speeches. Um, so I don't know. I know they're never going to do that, but that's just me. I'm like, if they want to make it more entertaining for the viewer, anyways, I would just have 10 Oscar categories. I still like it when they sing the songs. Because I still like them putting on a show. Like I like having a host who goes out there and puts out a funny monologue, 10-minute monologue or whatever. That's entertaining. And then the songs can be very entertaining. And then I like it if they do like maybe one skit in the middle of the Oscars that's very funny maybe or interesting that they've done in the past. That's good. Like I said, they just got too much categories going on. And I mean, if they really want to, they can cut out the songs and that would shorten the ceremony, or even cut out the monologue that would shorten the ceremony. But to me, it wouldn't be as entertaining because to me, the Oscar ceremony is not only an award show, but it's an entertainment show. It's a show that should entertain the people that are watching in a sense. So I got a couple people commenting. Yeah, Mike. Hey, Mike. Thank you. The legend. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Another day off. Work this weekend, so just another day to rest and enjoy time on my own. What's your favorite Oscar winner of all time from any category? Boy. I mean, the most exciting I ever had was watching Lord of the Rings: Return of the King win Best Picture, I think. I've never been so, excited for a movie to win, I think. And it was crazy because it was the third film and it was a fantasy film, and fantasy films don't usually win. Of course, watching it win 11 Oscars, that was the best Oscar ceremony of all time. Like, that was the 2004 Oscar ceremony for the 2003 year. Nothing's ever going to beat that Oscar ceremony. And Billy Crystal was the host, and he was very funny, and he gave a really great monologue. And yeah, it was one of the greats. Um, one of my favorite categories was uh, uh, best song. One of the years, I don't know if it was 2007, 8, somewhere in there, maybe. The movie Once, which was kind of a low known film with Glenn Hansard and Marketa Glova, who's a Irish singer, so St. Patrick's Day there, and a Czech Republic singer. They sang that they had a song called what was it called? Falling Slowly. And Falling Slowly is like one of my favorite songs of all time. And it was the best song of that year. And yeah, I was so excited when they won the Oscar for best song because they were kind of somewhat of the little known, movie, little known, song that they kind of had to really, I think they really had to campaign hard to get into the category. And then to see them two win, that was really exciting. And nobody deserved that best song Oscar more than they did, because that was a really great song. I got Adam. Hey, Adam. Return King deserved Best Picture. Yeah, it was so good. I miss Billy Crystal. Even Whoopi did a fantastic job. Miss those days. Yeah, I feel like we're never going to get those great Oscar host days. I think a lot about that's the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems of the Oscars today is we haven't had a good host in quite a while. I want to say maybe the last really good host was maybe Ellen DeGeneres. I feel like she did it 6-7 years ago maybe, and she did a good job. I think Ellen DeGeneres is a very good host. She did it twice, and it's very funny. Like, I'd love to see someone like that come back and do it, rather than Jimmy Kimmel. Relax with your days off. Yeah, get the drink. Yeah, I thought about watching John Wick just to get ready for next week because I'm so excited for John Wick Chapter 4. I mean, I've been thinking about that for the last month. Just like, man, I just need to get to March 24th so I can go watch John Wick 4. like I haven't really cared about any movie except for that movie. It's the only one that's on my mind right now. And it feels like it's so long. I'm like, man, when's it going to be? It's next week. But it's like, man, it's taking so long to get to John Wick Chapter 4. Christian Bale and Heath Ledger winning Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, I totally agree. Christian Bale winning for The Fighter, one of my favorite performances in that category. I would agree. He did such an amazing job. And then, yeah, Heath Ledger, yeah, probably maybe my favorite performance of all time, or top 10 favorite performances of all time as a Joker. I mean, he did such an amazing job. And of course, seeing his family have to go up there and receive the Oscar for him because he passed away, Yeah, it was a really great moment. That was a good Oscar ceremony as well. But yeah, as Norton said, yeah, a couple problems. One is the ceremony is too long. I really wish they could cut it down to like 2 hours, which is crazy because it's 3.5 hour show. So that would be too hard to go to. So at least can they get it down to 2.5 hours? I don't know. That would be an addition to it, or maybe even 3 hours. Maybe a good 3 hour show, I suppose, would be okay to get through. Because I might be like getting through the Super Bowl or something. Hey Joe, nice to see you. Who are you most disappointed for not winning an Oscar this year? When you see John Wick 4, I'm expecting a 40-minute review. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're going to get a pretty good review on that one. Was I disappointed with anything? I can't say I was. I mean, like, was there one that I was going for that didn't win? I wasn't really crazy about a lot of movies that were nominated, so I wasn't really rooting for a whole lot, I would say. Because I knew, Everything Everywhere All at Once was going to win a bunch of Oscars. I kind of knew that was, and All Quiet on Western Front was going to win some technical ones. And I'm not crazy about either movie. Um, I was thinking the best supporting actress. Like, I really did not want Jamie Lee Curtis to win. I'll get to that category here, I guess. But um, I'd rather see Angela Bassett win that one. So maybe that was the most disappointing one. I think they got that one wrong. In the best supporting actress category. But yeah, they went with Jimmy Kimmel as the host, and to me, that's just my opinion. Jimmy Kimmel is like one of the most unfunniest people ever. I watched a couple of this show, Jimmy Kimmel, the I think it's called Jimmy Kimmel Live or something like that on ABC. Yeah, I mean, it's such a downfall from the greats like Jay Leno and David Letterman and Conan O'Brien, of course, and the Johnny Carsons, and he's so far down the totem pole of hosts when it comes to late night hosts. I mean, uh, yeah, he's just not funny at all, and I don't think he's ever been funny, and I don't get why he's popular or he does well. I just don't get it. He's just not for me, I guess. And this is the third time he's hosted. All three times he's just not funny. And yeah, he kind of did what I thought. Yeah, he wasn't funny. And I was on IMO Reviews live stream, or I was in the chat, and I even said when went through the monologue, I said there was maybe 3 good jokes and there's like 20 bad jokes in that whole monologue. I don't know if that was true, but I was just like making a guess at how many, the ratio of bad to good jokes anyway. So yeah, it was mostly, I don't know, he's just not good at making jokes. And of course he has writers, and I guess he doesn't have good writers or something. But yeah, it was, I wouldn't say it was like the worst monologue ever, but it's still just not a good monologue. Um, and I don't know, they keep going to Jimmy Kimmel because he's on ABC and Oscars are on ABC, so they keep going to him, which is kind of lazy on the Oscars, I guess, because they're kind of afraid to go to get someone good or something. Because last year we had the 3 women hosts, and they were pretty much a disaster last year. They weren't funny really at all. And then they went 2 or 3 years without a host, which to me was horrible. Like, the Oscars needs a host. The host is what makes the Oscars enjoyable. Um, so they still need to. I think I'm glad they went back to getting hosts. So that's a plus, I guess, on one side. I just wish they can get a good host. Like I said, like Ellen DeGeneres maybe was the last good one, or Neil Patrick Harris was fine. Like, I wouldn't mind him. Actually, was a big fan of Seth MacFarlane. I thought he was very funny when he was the host. Hugh Jackman was really great. He was one of my favorite hosts, and he's not really, and he's a good host because he's hosted like the Tonys and stuff. But he's a big time actor, and he's on there doing it. I still think Dwayne Johnson would be like the perfect host. Like, if they get Dwayne Johnson to host the Oscars, he was a presenter and he looks just great. He wore like this pink uh, tux coat thing, whatever you call it. And it looked great on him. And I'm like, man, because he's a superstar. He's one of the big superstars out there. He's hosted Saturday Night Live at least 5 times, and he's great when he's hosting Saturday Night Live. So I feel like he has he has the ability to host, and he has a great sense of humor. He can be funny, and everybody likes him. He's very popular. I mean, I think if Dwayne Johnson if they can get him to host, I think they'd get a lot of viewers, and it'd be a lot more enjoyable. I also thought Kevin Hart would have been a great host. Like I always thought, like, and some people I know aren't Kevin Hart fans out there, and they're kind of tired of him because he's kind of been he's all over the place. He makes a lot of movies now. He's been pretty popular, and maybe too much that he's kind of oversaturated himself, and people are getting tired of Kevin Hart. But I still think he could be funny as a host. Even him and Dwayne Johnson could be like a funny co-host or something. Because I think he's a guy that because you want somebody who's not too offensive that everybody could like. That's why they get Jimmy Kimmel. I guess they think Jimmy Kimmel everybody could like him, but not everybody likes him. I don't know if they don't know that, but a lot of people don't like him. So then you get someone very likable that doesn't turn people off, and so it's kind of hard to find that right host sometimes. So I still think they need to go out there and try to find a good host. Like Billy Crystal was like the king of hosting back when I was growing up watching the Oscars in the 90s and into the 2000s. He hosted 7 or 8 times. He did a musical number. He put himself into the films like at the beginning, which was really funny, where he looked like he was in the movies, the Oscar movies, and he was interacting with the characters. Like that was all great. Steve Martin did it twice, absolutely hilarious, and he did it actually one more time, co-hosting with Alec Baldwin, which was also very funny. He was one of the funniest hosts we've ever had, I think. Jon Stewart did it twice. He was absolutely hilarious. He was a great host. So they had a really good. They had Chris Rock twice. I mean, they had a real good string of really good hosts that would do it once or twice, and that was about it. They didn't really have a dominant host. Like Bill Crystal was like the last real dominant host. If you go back to the 50s, 60s period, you got Bob Hope. Bob Hope hosted about every Oscar ceremony, and he was absolutely hilarious. If you go on YouTube and search for Bob Hope at the Oscars, his Oscar monologues were really funny. And then in the 70s, 80s period, you had Johnny Carson. He did a ton of Oscar hosting, and he was really funny. He was one of the all-time greats, I think, at hosting. And if you go on YouTube and search him, I mean, his monologues were so good. And you watch those and you go, man, why can't we get back to those those really great, funny monologues and good hosting duties? And like I said, I love when they did skits. Will Ferrell used to come out and do like a little funny skit. Like he did a song with Jack Black about a comedian at the Oscars. One of the funniest bits ever done. Also, I think it was him and Jack Black. They did it when they did a presenting. They did a real funny bit about the music that they play to play someone off actually has lyrics to it, and they start singing these lyrics to the song. So funny. But Will Ferrell hasn't been on the Oscar ceremony for a long time. He used to be at every single Oscar ceremony. He would do something funny, and I don't know what happened, but he hadn't been on for the last several years, or yeah, 5, 6 years. I feel like he hadn't been on there, and it's such a loss because, like, man, he's so great when he comes out on there and he does something. Ben Stiller a lot of times does a funny little thing on there. Like I said, Jack Black. Get somebody funny to do like a little skit maybe in there. I would say like the worst thing on the hosting was Jimmy. Like I hate when like Jimmy Kimmel always tried to do some kind of funny bit with the audience, and it's never funny. Even last year they did something, and they've done stuff in the years past where Ellen DeGeneres kind of did something kind of interesting, which had the big selfie where she got a bunch of people together to do like the biggest selfie of all time or something like that, which is funny because Kevin Spacey I think was in there, which now doesn't look good. I remember Jimmy Kimmel one time, didn't he brought people in from outside to look, I don't know, and I think Ellen DeGeneres had someone deliver pizza or something. I don't know. They do little bits like that. It's okay. It's just sometimes they don't work as well. So I don't know if they need to find like one kind of funny bit to do during the middle of the ceremony again. I don't know if that's just they need a better director and better writers than what they've had, but I wish they could do something like that. As far as like the music performances, like this year's was just blah kind of for the most part. It had one of the worst music performances that I've seen of all time. I guess I'll get to that when I get to the music category. The songs weren't the greatest, I think. It's always fun when you have a really good music performance. Like you think of Idina Menzel singing Let It Go, Adele singing Skyfall, like I said, Glenn Hansard and Marquetta Glover singing Falling Slowly, uh, what's her name singing Into the West. There's been a lot of great musical performances that make the Oscars even funner anyway. So there's a little bit of miss on there. I feel like songs aren't as good recently. There haven't been as many great songs in the Oscar category. So, I mean, I remember back in the day, like Disney was coming out with some bangers with A Whole New World and Can You Feel Love Tonight and Color of the Wind. I mean, they're just coming out with some of the great songs. I don't know if Disney's coming out with the great songs anymore like they used to with Alan Menken and so forth. So, but yeah, so that's some things I wish were better that can make the Oscars a little more funner to watch. Like I said, just Jim Kimmel, like I said, he went into the audience, and that was the worst part. One of the worst parts of the ceremony. He went to the audience, and he was like, "Oh, here's a question, somebody has," and he went to this one lady who's like known for, I think her name's Malala or something like that, and she's known for, she got like a Nobel Peace Prize, and she was all for women's rights in the Arab world and very serious person, and he was doing like a bit with her, but she really wasn't playing along because she's not an actor or anything, so she didn't really know how to play with the comedy with Jimmy Kimmel, so it kind of looked weird. And then the Cocaine Bear came out. It's a guy in a suit, a bear suit, and it's supposed to play off of Cocaine Bear. And I thought that was stupid. Every time, uh, what's her name, Elizabeth Banks comes out, and almost trips on her dress. She recovers, and then they have the Cocaine Bear come out because she directed Cocaine Bear, and that was like stupid. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's not funny at all. So they kind of missed out on some of those jokes. They tried to think they were going to land, and they didn't land. I think the best joke of the night was actually at the very end of the ceremony when it was all over. Um, Jimmy Kimmel was walking out of the theater, and there's a like a, I don't know what we call it, a sign that says, as you haven't work a lot of times has like, a thing that says, how many days without an incident, and then it has like, how many days until somebody had an accident, if somebody has an accident at work, then you have to put it down to 0. So your goal is to have, a lot of days where nobody, gets hurt or has an accident at work. And he's walking by it and he flips it over to 1. So we've had one Oscar ceremony without an incident, playing off of last year when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, which is, so that was a funny bit. I thought that was the very last thing. That was the thing I laughed at the most because, like, okay, that was funny because we had that slap, which was the biggest thing of last year. The only thing you think about last year's Oscars was that Will Smith slap. And like I said, last year's Oscars was pretty bad overall, except for the slap made it memorable. So the slap was like the best thing because you keep talking about it, and it was kind of interesting. And it's been a cultural thing that everybody talks about. And there were some jokes about it. He made some jokes about, not real harsh jokes, I would say, but he mentioned the slap. And I said in the chat, like, I was like, he's got to mention at least once. I mean, someone's got to mention that slap. I mean, how can you go without mentioning that slap? It's the biggest thing that's ever happened in Oscar history is the whole Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. It's something we've been talking about for a whole year. Chris Rock finally came out with a comedy special where he talked about it and really went after Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. And anyway, so I thought it was okay. I thought he did a decent job without hitting it too hard, but yet kind of acknowledging that happened, and making some comedy out of it. So that was cool. But anyways, but yeah. So overall, I would say this. Like I said, I overall kind of enjoyed the ceremony because I was really happy, and I'll get to this. I was really happy with a lot of the actors who won, and I thought they gave really good speeches. So I was really excited about a lot of that. And I wouldn't say there was too many surprises. Sometimes Oscars can be fun if there's like a huge surprise that you aren't expecting. I wouldn't say there was a couple of surprises for me somewhat, but there wasn't any huge surprises that really floored me, like some ceremonies have. So it won't be a memorable Oscars. To be honest, it's a very forgettable Oscars, but yet it's not remembered for bad. It's just not remembered for doing anything bad or good. It's just kind of in the middle as far as the ceremony goes. So that's my thoughts, I guess, on the ceremony in total. And I know I got a lot of chat here. Norrin saying hi to Joe and Mike. Norrin, Marcel the Shell, I really wanted to win Best Animation. Yeah, that's one a lot of people really enjoyed. Like, I wasn't super crazy about Marcel the Shell. It's definitely better than Pinocchio. I mean, to me, Puss in Boots, I guess I'll get to that category, but Puss in Boots was, to me, by far the best in that category. And DC League of Super Pets, to me, was like by far the best animated movie last year, and it didn't get nominated. So I didn't really have, didn't really care too much who won there. So Pinocchio was one of my least favorite movies of the year, and of course it won. Um, Norrin, Brother from Another Mother. I really want to get back on with you, Norrin and Mike. I really want to get another live stream with you too. I don't know when we can do it, um, but sometime we got to do another live stream together. Yeah. I think Norrin and Mike are talking to each other. Only last question I will ask, okay, as I'm heading to be a guest star on. Yeah, Scott, the movie critic, has a stream coming up in 5 minutes, so I understand some people will probably leave to go see that stream. And I guess Mike's going to be on that. Pete's going to be on that, as usual. Anyway, so that's fine. Hopefully, some can catch this afterwards. But if you could pick anyone who's alive right now, who would you want to host the Oscars? Oh, well, I kind of answered that already. Dwayne Johnson, to me, would be my pick. I think he would be a really good Oscar host, and I think he's well liked by everybody. I don't think he's ever said anything really that controversial or done anything that would put people off from the Oscars. And yeah, he's one of the biggest stars out there, and I think he could be funny, and it would be a really fun, I think, Oscar in that sense. So, no one very good enjoying Jason's stream on my phone. Leprechaun 4, I've heard that's I mean, I haven't seen the Leprechaun movies. I heard that one's pretty bad though, the one in space, but or is the one in the hood? There's one about Leprechaun in the hood or something like that. It's like kind of a really kind of a I don't know cheesy horror movie. Space. I can't imagine what that's gonna be like. My pick for dream host would be Colin Jost from SNL. Really dig his delivery. Okay, yeah, Colin Jost or whatever Jost. Yeah, he could do it. I mean, he does the weekend update. Last time I haven't been watching Saturday Night Live in the last couple of years, so I think he does the weekend update on there. He has been. Him and Michael Shea used to do it together, but I don't know if he's on there anymore. But yeah, Colin Jost. Yeah, I can't say I'm like the biggest fan of Colin Jost, but yeah, he knows. He's married to Scarlett Johansson, so he's got that going for him. Uh, no Country for Old Men deserved Best Picture. Yeah, that was a pretty popular movie. Like, it's not my favorite just because of the ending, but it is incredibly well-made movie, incredibly acted. If they made a couple changes in the end, I would say that was like a really great movie. I would say it's a really, really well directed, and the cinematography is really good in that movie. And yeah, I don't mind it winning because it's got a lot going for it. I wanted Blade Runner 2, 2049 to be nominated for Best Picture. I think I only got nominated for score and cinematography. Yeah, I might be right. Did it win cinematography? Because I remember being pretty. I think it might have won cinematography because it was pretty well known for its cinematography. I think it had one of the great cinematographers on it, if I remember right. I don't know if it was Roger Deakins or there's like two that I always think about are like the two greats. Like Roger Deakins, one of them. There's another guy I'm forgetting, but yeah, I think that's your favorite movie of all time, maybe Blade Runner 2049, Warren. So I can see that you would love that to be. I haven't seen it, Blade Runner 2049. I just heard it's really long and boring. So I'm like, I don't. That's not a movie I care about. But I know there's been some people that really like that movie. But anyway, so yeah, so that's over the Oscar ceremony. So now I'm gonna go into the Oscar categories and kind of give my thoughts on who won and what I thought. Anyway, so we're gonna start kind of from the technical categories basically and go up to Best Picture on this one. So first, I'm going to talk about visual effects. In this one, it was pretty obvious. Avatar 2: The Way of Water won, and we all knew it was going to win. That was one of the easiest. Yeah, so I was right. Roger Deakins. Yeah, he's one of the all-time greats. We all knew that was going to win because that's what it's known for. I haven't seen Avatar 2. It's the only Best Picture nominee I didn't see because it's a 3-hour movie about blue people swimming or something. And so it's all about visuals. I mean, it took, between 2009's Avatar and now 23. So, I mean, you're talking 13, 14 years or whatever. I guess 13 years, whatever, to make that movie. I mean, so he took a long time to make a movie that was known for its visual effects and make it even better visual effects. So I'm sure the visual effects are just absolutely amazing and probably some new technology, groundbreaking technology used in that. And yeah, it's all visual effects. So of course it was going to win best visual effects. I mean, I don't think there was a question there. And I don't know. that's fine. I figured that would win. That was my prediction, of course. Yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front nominated the Batman, Black Panther, Top Gun. Interesting because a lot of those are more practical effects, I would think. Top Gun and All Quiet on the Western Front. So I don't know if that usually the one that has the most CGI wins. So I don't know if Black Panther has a lot of CGI, but yeah, I knew it probably wasn't going to win there. And it gave Avatar one win at least. They got one win out of the whole ceremony, being the highest grossing movie last year. So at least it got something there, I guess. And I'll see once I see it what I think about it. Next category, I'm talking about film editing. It went to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, I thought it was a pretty easy category to predict because if you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, I mean, it is a crazy movie because they go through different multiverses and a lot of crazy multiverses. And so the movie's constantly switching to these different universes that the main character is going through. So, I mean, I have no idea. And sometimes they're just quick cutting to different, because you're seeing her through different universes, like at the same time, kind of thing. I think, if I remember at one time, and it's like one universe she has hot dog fingers, one universe she's a rock, one universe she's an actress. It was just one universe. There's a raccoon that can talk. I don't know. It's the craziest thing ever. And the way they had to cut through that, I can't imagine how you edit that movie. I mean, that seemed like a nightmare movie to edit and make it all make sense. Even the way it's edited, I can't make a lot of sense out of it. And that's after doing really a lot of good editing, I suppose. And people like it, so I guess people think it was well edited. But I mean, the other nominees were Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Tar, and Top Gun. Uh, yeah, I can't say there's one that I was really going for as far as editing. I mean, Top Gun's the best movie out of there, of course. So, Top Gun would have been fine. But yeah, I figured Everything Everyone Wants would win. No surprise there. Best costume design. This one surprised me actually somewhat. I don't know why. It probably shouldn't have. Black Panther Wakanda Forever won best costume. I predicted Elvis in this category, so I was a bit surprised because I figured Elvis came away with no Oscars. That was real shocking because I figured Elvis would get at least one Oscar out of this. Of course, a lot of people were thinking best actor for Austin Butler, but I was thinking probably best costume design was his best chance, I thought, to win an Oscar actually, because Elvis, of course, wears all these costumes. He has all these iconic costumes throughout. I even saw something that there was like Elvis himself. There was like he had like 96 costumes or something like that. And it was a crazy amount of costumes that Austin Butler had to wear. And then all the extras, there was like thousands of costumes made for that film because of all the other extras that had to wear costumes. But Elvis himself wore like a bunch of Austin Butler wore a bunch of costumes, and they were really nice. I think costuming was really well done in that movie. So that was surprising, I guess. But I guess I see Black Panther. Black Panther, of course, had a lot of costuming as well. The Namora characters, whatever, had their own thing, and then of course you had the Black Panther suit and all the Black Panther, and they won costume I think last time for Black Panther as well. So I shouldn't be surprised. The costuming is very well done in Black Panther and the two movies. I guess I went for Elvis because Elvis was nominated for Best Picture. Black Panther wasn't, so I thought they would want to give love to the Best Picture nominee and not one that didn't get nominated for Best Picture. But so I missed out on that one. We got Babylon, Everything Ever All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Cool to see Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris in there. I've heard a lot of people really like that movie. My sister and my mom liked it. I know Mike liked it from Did You See That? And Ryan from RWR Movies as well. I've heard him say he really likes that movie. That's a movie I still need to check out. I don't really know a lot about it, except there's a lady named Mrs. Harris and she goes to Paris. That's my guess of the plot. And no one agreed with me. Thought Elvis too. Yeah, I think a lot of us thought Elvis was going to win that. But I don't know much about what's in Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. But I figured that I was going to win because that's the only nominee it got, and that's pretty cool. It got one nominee. I mean, that's a pretty big thing for it. I personally would give the best costume to Babylon because the dresses they put on Margot Robbie are absolutely amazing. She looks really good in those dresses in that movie. That was like the best part of that movie was Margot Robbie in those outfits. Yeah, she looked really good in that movie. So if I was giving out an Oscar, I said this on IMO reviews, like I would give Margot Robbie an Oscar just for looking good in dresses. Like that's how much I think how good she looks. She deserves some kind of award for that. But anyways, that's costume design. Then we got hairstyle and makeup. And I said this when I predicted it, I was like, um, makeup and hairstyling love fat suits. Like if you have a character that's in a fat suit, you're gonna get a nomination for hairstyle and makeup. Because I want to say maybe Austin Powers maybe got nominated for best makeup because they had the fat bastard character in a fat suit that Mike Myers had to wear. And I even want to say maybe Norbit, the really bad movie from Eddie Murphy, got nominated maybe because he was in a fat suit during that movie. I might be wrong, but I feel like some of those really terrible movies, not Austin Powers, not terrible necessarily, but I feel like there's been some pretty bad movies, but got nominated in this category because they had someone in a fat suit. That's always a thing. And we had basically three movies with someone in a fat suit. So I was like, it's one of these three movies is going to win. Because we got the Batman, which had Colin Farrell as a penguin, was like in a fat suit. We had Elvis. Tom Hanks was in a fat suit in that movie. And then we got the fat suits of all fat suits, The Whale, where Brendan Fraser was in a fat suit the whole time, of course. Really big fat suit. And I haven't seen The Whale yet, but I just, of course, seen clips of it. Obviously, pretty impressive fat suit that they put on him. I went for Elvis on this one again because I just thought Elvis was going to win something. It was nominated for Best Picture, so I thought they're going to give some love to Elvis. End up going to The Whale, which I can't say I'm surprised. Like I said, that's a pretty impressive fat suit that they put on Brendan Fraser. So yeah, so I look back and go, I kind of kicked myself. Like I should have guessed The Whale, but again, I was going off of what was nominated for Best Picture and what wasn't. So usually I predict the movie that's nominated because I figured the Oscars, the people are going to vote for the movie that's nominated for Best Picture. Usually is going to get more love than the movie that's not nominated. That's my theory. I was wrong on a couple occasions, like this one, like the costume and the hairstyling and makeup. I was wrong on both accounts. Again, I don't know if Elvis had the best hairstyle and makeup. I mean, he definitely had some, 50s style hairstyles, whatever, and stuff with Elvis. And even Elvis had some fat suit makeup, I think, on with Austin Butler. But I don't know. I just thought they were going to give some love there. But The Whale is probably pretty deserving of that. I mean, it's like I said, the Batman just has, the Colin Farrell thing mainly. Aqua and What's Your Front was actually, I thought, could have a chance just because there's some interesting, the way they look in the movie with, I love how the mud is just coated on their faces because they're, fighting in this muddy uh, fields, in World War I. They're just marching across these open fields of just mud and bombs are exploding and they're falling down. And so there's some instances where there's like, there's ash or something, there's mud all over their face. I thought that was really well done. Like, so for a while I thought that could win because of that, but ultimately I had to go with one of the fat suits. But and Black Panther definitely had some good makeup in there too. So it was a pretty competitive category in total, I would say. I got a full bottle of water, so I should be able to get through it. Through all this, I'm starting to get a little. My throat's starting to get a little hoarse now. But next category, we can talk about cinematography. It went to All Quiet on the Western Front, which I was predicting because, like I said, my go-to movie for all the technical categories was All Quiet on the Western Front because it's been dominating it's been getting a lot of nominations throughout the other award shows and technical categories. And I think that's mostly why it's a good movie. It's not the best script. It's well directed. It's not a great script, I would say, as far as like entertainment. And it's very long and slow paced in times. And it's not the greatest character developments, I would think, in a movie. So it didn't got a lot of that going for it, but it was a really good looking movie. That's what it's got going for it. Kind of like Avatar. It definitely looked good, and it was well shot. And so I'm fine with that winning because it was definitely really well. The battle sequences are just absolutely amazing. It looked like a real battle scene, like that would happen in World War One. So I was pretty impressed with all that. Again, well, there's one movie that it's on Netflix called Bardo: The False Chronicles, and blah 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 blah. It has a big long title, and I've heard that's really well shot. I haven't seen it. Elvis, yeah, pretty well shot. Empire of Light got one nomination here. I've heard it's really well shot, but it's not a very good movie, so I haven't checked it out. And then Tar, I don't remember Tar being that great. I don't know why Tar's got a lot of nominations. Like I didn't think anything was really that spectacular in that movie, but it got in there as well. All right. Take a drink of water. Thank you to everybody watching the video, by the way. I appreciate you guys' support and hearing me give my thoughts here on the Oscars, as I usually have quite a bit of thoughts on it. Next, we're going to talk about production design. Again, went to All Quiet on the Western Front, which I predicted correctly in that category. Again, you had to go for that movie for any of the technical categories. It felt like it was going to win a lot. And it was, again, World War I movies. I mean, usually like 1917, I don't know if that won, but I feel like that might have won production design as well, or it was one that I remember thinking it should have won. Because there's something about watching, the trench, because you have to build these trenches. And there's something about trenches that are kind of fascinating when you have these really long trenches and you watch somebody like walk along these long trenches and there's people everywhere doing stuff. It's something very impressive about that and how they had to build those. And then the no man lands are pretty interesting because you have all these different things like barbed wire and all, I imagine it was pretty incredible to have to design all those obstacles that you have to, run across to get to the other side. So I like the War One designs. Usually are pretty good. We had Avatar, which to me was weird because like, how do you give production design to a movie that's all CGI? I don't know, but it got nominated. Babylon, I get because there's a lot of movie sets in Babylon that are pretty cool. And then you got Elvis. Elvis had some big stage productions, I guess. I don't know if that's why I got in there. And the Fablemans, I'm not sure why that got in there. What was so spectacular about their designs? That one I don't quite get, but it's funny. The movie I would say I'd give a lot of Oscars to is Babylon. I thought Babylon was so much better movie than all these other movies that are nominated for Best Picture. And I don't even like Babylon that much, but Babylon looked really good as far as cinematography, design, costuming, makeup, hairstyle, whatever. It's absolutely amazing looking movie, I think, and should have won some Oscars. So I'd probably give Babylon the Oscar if I could. Next, we'll go to Best Sound. This was one I was actually pretty excited for because I thought I was going out of the box a little bit. Because, like I said, All Quiet on the Western Front was winning everything. And Top Gun ended up winning sound, and I predicted it and got it right. So I was actually pretty happy when that happened because I was like, because I wasn't 100% sure Top Gun would get it. Because, like I said, I thought All Quiet on the Western Front had a real good chance of getting this because it's winning a lot of the categories, and war movies do pretty good, I think, in sound because you have a lot of gunshots and explosions, and so that usually helps with the sound being a good sound movie. Top Gun, though, it had the jets. You had the sound of the jets flying, and I think that's what won it the best sound. So I thought that was pretty deserving of it. And I thought Top Gun should get something. I mean, it was the movie that saved the movie industry this last year. One of the biggest grossing movies, one of the few movies I saw in the theater. I wasn't a huge fan, but I thought it was a pretty good movie overall. And definitely it was cool seeing the practical effects of the real jets flying was definitely plus. Elvis was nominated here, and I thought Elvis had a chance because it had a lot of songs in it, and I thought maybe they consider that like a great sound, the way Elvis sounded in the songs or something, or the music would sound good, or I don't know. It seemed like musicals do well in this category as well, so I thought that had a chance. Again, Avatar's in here. Avatar, again, pretty big one on technical categories. I haven't seen it, so I can't say much. The Batman, I think a lot of people thought Batman could win this because there definitely was a good sound, and definitely that was something that people talked about. Like you could hear Batman's footsteps before he even came into like a room. Like I remember people talking about that. So it's like, yeah, they definitely did something with the sound there that made it noticeable, I think. But overall, I'm happy Top Gun won the best sound. Let's see, Norrin. My main problem with All Quiet was I've seen the films like that done 5 times better. Example, 1917 Dunkirk. Yeah, good point. We've seen it quite a bit. War movies do this kind of thing. Like I said, 1917 was another World War movie in recent memory that was pretty similar, I think, in yeah, design and sound and all that. Done very well. Dunkirk, yeah, I can see that one too. That's a War II movie that kind of similar. I mean, you probably go to what's it called? That Mel Gibson movie, something Ridge. Now I'm forgetting the name of the movie, but that's another one that had a lot of good, design and sound in it and all that. Like I said, war movies do pretty good in those categories. Original song, it went to Not To from RRR. I haven't seen RRR. It's on Netflix. I've been thinking about it. I've heard some people say only get through like 20 minutes of it and they couldn't watch anymore. So I don't know why they couldn't get it. I don't know if it's just so bizarre. It's India. It's a full, so it's not going to have, it's going to be a little different than our normal American made movies that we're used to or I'm used to. So I don't know. And I've heard some people really like it. So I've seen it all over the place. So I don't know. At some point, maybe I'll try to catch it and try to see if I can get through it. I don't know much about it. So it seems like it's an action movie. It's a musical. I don't know. It seems kind of crazy. Um, but Not To one. And I would say that was the best performance. One of the best moments of the Oscar ceremony was when they did the Not To song. Not that I care about the song or I could say anything about the song, but watching them dance was actually pretty fun. Like they had a really cool like dance where they looked like they were just kicking, like they were like doing these odd kicks during the dance, and it was kind of cool to look at. And like, wow, that looks like a hard dance to do, or very taxing, very exhausting dance. You have to be in pretty good shape. Anyway, so I enjoyed that performance overall because they had all these dancers and different costumings, and they did a whole performance. It was definitely the best performance of the night. I wouldn't say it's my favorite song, of course. I don't know Not To. I wouldn't listen to it probably on Spotify necessarily. Uh, but yeah, like you said, Abby, yeah, it's fun, catchy. Yeah, definitely fun and catchy. So I was for that winning just because I thought they gave the best performance. I'm like, yeah, let's give it to Not To. They really tried hard, they really put it all out, which I really enjoyed. Um, I mean, I think the best sounding song to me was "Lift Me Up" from Black Panther. Rihanna went out there, and I thought Rihanna sounded really good. Like that was a song where I was like, yeah, that was a really nice sounding song. I thought Rihanna gave a really good performance. Anyway, so like if I was to give it to anything, I'd probably give it to "Lift Me Up" from Black Panther. I thought it sounded really good. Um, you know, well, Applause. I never heard of that. It's from a movie that no one's ever heard of. Tell It Like a Woman, or something like that. And they didn't have, I don't think, the original singer sing it. I don't think so anyway. So I don't know who was singing it, and it was okay song. Just wasn't memorable as much. You got "Hold My Hand" from Top Gun. You got Lady Gaga, which I said on the thing on the chat was that I like, man, this is like the third time I've seen Lady Gaga in the last 4 or 5 years sing a song at the Oscars. It's her third nomination. She won a couple years ago for "Shallow," which was an absolutely amazing song. And I like Lady. I'm actually kind of liking Lady Gaga more now than I used to because I think she's a really good singer. And so I'm like, man, she is talented. When I didn't like the movie A Star Is Born, but I thought she was really good in it, and I thought she was good in House of Gucci, like that came out a year ago. So I'm like kind of on board with Lady Gaga. I was like, I kind of like Lady Gaga. I think she's a good actress, and I think she's a really good singer. I need to listen more to music to see if I like any of it because some of her music's really good, I think, as well. I think she's just a little weird because she wears the weird costumes and so forth, and she's a little over sexualized. She's like very sexual in her stuff, but anyways, her performance was fine. She sounded great. It was interesting because it was more, uh, uh, what do you call it, torn down role. She was wearing like ripped jeans and a t-shirt, and she didn't have any makeup on. So I don't know why she did it that way. And it was a little more toned down performance compared to Not To, which was this big performance. Hers was just her sitting on a stool with this band, and she was singing it. And she sings some of a cappella, which showed her vocals really well. And overall, I was like, man, she's a good singer. But I don't know if it was the best performance of the night. It was a little different, but you know, it was okay. I think overall, I wouldn't mind her winning because I think she's a good total. Let me see. Norn, Lady Gaga reminds me a bit of David Bowie. Yeah, we always said like she's like Madonna or something like that. She definitely has a stage presence about her. far as costuming and dancing and all that. Um, and then we get the worst performance I've ever seen at an Oscar ceremony. This is Life from Everything Ever All at Once, which was sung by Stephanie Sue, whatever, from who's one of the actresses from the movie, and from David Byrne. Uh, and when they said David Byrne, I was like, that sounds familiar. Who is that? And it wasn't until after the Oscars that I finally heard, oh, he was the lead singer of Talking Heads. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. He was, and I'm not a fan of Talking Heads. I think they're kind of a weird group. They have a couple good songs, but I'm not a big fan, as some people are. And I've heard he's kind of weird, David Byrne, so it kind of made sense. And I guess they're going for weird because Everything Ever All at Once is such a weird movie, such a wacky, out there movie that they're like, let's get someone weird and wacky to sing this. And I don't know who sings the song originally, but when they said Stephanie Sue and Dave Byrne, I thought, surely those aren't the original singers. I mean, Stephanie Sue's an actress. Is she a singer too? I don't know. Did she sing the song? I didn't think she did. So I was like, what's going on? They couldn't get the original singer? I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but anyways, so I'm like, can she sing? I don't know. Uh, it was wild. I mean, it definitely was a performance. They had some people in there, and it had kind of a weird mood. And David Byrne was wearing the hot dog fingers from the movie, so that was kind of interesting. And they were kind of doing these weird like movements like during the whole thing. They definitely were going for this really weird out there thing. But the worst part is the singing was really terrible. It was way off key, or they weren't hitting the notes, and it was something when it was going on. I think we were all like, what is going on? I remember watching Elliot and Josh on the live stream, and I think they were just staring at it like, what is going on here? This is so weird. Yeah, so I was definitely like, I was like, man, this better not win, because this was, I don't know if the song, I have to listen to the actual song to see if it's any good, but that was not a good performance, and it was really wild. And maybe the worst, I'd say, maybe second or third worst thing of the night. It was, though it was entertaining, I guess, to go, wow, that was so bad. But that was interesting, original song. But overall, I'm fine with Not To winning there. And I knew it was going to win. It was like kind of the big favorite. Next, we're going to go to original score. This I was a bit surprised at, I guess, but maybe I shouldn't have been. It went to All Quiet on the Western Front. But I don't know. I don't remember the score that much. And I know Josh from Through the Lens, through the whole ceremony, he was like, oh, better not go to All Quiet on the Western Front. I've heard some people talk about it and go, there's a lot of like sounds in the score that people hated. And so a lot of people were like, I hate that score. But it won. So evidently someone really liked that score. I personally was going for Babylon. I thought Babylon was going to win because it had definitely had the memorable score. It's Damon Chazelle, and all of his movies have a jazz score, which I'm not a big jazz guy, but definitely it's very loud in the movie. Even in Babylon, there's lots of scenes where crazy stuff is happening, and there's the guy playing the trumpet, and he's playing this really loud trumpet jazz music, whatever. And so I don't know. I was really going for Babylon here. Again, Babylon didn't get any love. But to be honest, I haven't really been listening to all the scores, so I would have to listen to the movie scores to really get a good sense of who should have won. Banshee of the Inisherin was nominated. Carter Burrell did that one, and I don't know if that's a guy or girl, but I know they've done some other Irish movies and Scottish movies, and are very well. They have some good scores. I forget now. There's a movie with Liam Neeson who he plays a Scottish guy, and that has a really good score, and that's Carter Burrell. So I was kind of like, oh, I wouldn't mind that person winning. Everything Everywhere All at Once was in there, and The Fabelmans. I don't remember the scores necessarily. Fabelmans was John Williams. I think this is like maybe the last movie John Williams is going to score, because he's like 93 years old. And this is like his 53rd nomination. He's won 5 Oscars for Best Score. And yeah, no one's even come close to John Williams. I mean, in wins and in nominations. I mean, I'm sure the next guy's maybe got like 10 or so nominations, and John Williams got 53 or something like that. It's just absolutely incredible. He's the absolute greatest, I think, conductor as far as musical scores go, and some of the most iconic, of course. So I would always be for him winning, because I think he should win all the time. He's won 5, and I could see him winning like 5 more because he has so many great scores. But anyway, so yeah, whatever. All the Quiet on the West Front was really doing well early on it's funny, we were watching it, and All Quiet on the West Front won like 4 pretty quick ones, and all of a sudden they were like the leader in the Oscar wins. And a lot of people were like, "Oh no, this better not win Best Picture," and a lot of people were like, "Oh no, this is gonna win Best Picture." And I was like, no, don't get too ahead of yourself, because everything ever all at once. I was like, that's gonna catch up once we get to the acting categories and the directing and and editing, and it's gonna win a bunch of awards later on in the ceremony. And sure enough, it did. It ended up cleaning up at the end of the show, and it was obvious it was gonna win. Best documentary, I don't have a lot to say because I haven't seen any of these documentaries. Don't really know a lot about them. Navalny one, which I didn't know anything about it, but now looking back, I should have predicted that one, because I guess it's about Ukraine, and Ukraine's like a big deal because there's a whole war in Ukraine. So a lot of people are sympathetic towards Ukraine against Russia, or it's either pro-Ukrainian or it's anti-Russian, and that's very popular right now to be anti-Russian and pro-Ukrainian. Not that it's ever been popular to be for Russia. It's never really been that popular, but especially right now, it's pretty popular to be anti-Russian. And I didn't know that was the movie was about, or I would have predicted it, because yeah, that makes sense. I predicted A House Made of Splinters, and I don't know anything about the movie. I just made a wild guess there, but I was off. I know Fire of Love is about volcanoes, and it's on Disney Plus. I at some point I think I'll watch that on Disney Plus, but then the other ones I just don't know really anything about. Maybe someday I'll catch up with these. I know Navalny is on HBO Max, so maybe I'll watch that at some point. We'll see. But I don't really know much about these documentaries. I'm a fan of documentary movies too, so I just need to catch up with these. Next, we got Best International Film. I mean, of course, All Quiet on the Western Front won. It's the only movie in this that was nominated for Best Picture. You get those like Parasite. Remember the year Parasite was nominated or won Best Picture, in fact. And it's like, oh, of course it's going to win Best International Film. I mean, you're not going to win Best Picture and then lose International Film, or you're not going to get nominated for Best Picture and lose International Film. I think Drive My Car maybe last year was nominated for Best Picture, and I think it won Best International. So we've been getting a lot of those where like one international film will get into the Best Picture category, and it's obviously going to win Best International. That's like the easiest category to guess nowadays. But yeah, pretty good. It's the only one I've seen out of the 5. Argentina 1985, Close, EO, which is about a donkey, and Quiet Girl, which was the Irish movie. I haven't seen any of them except for All Quiet on the Western Front. So, but yeah, I don't know if I'll catch them. I'm not really big on international films. Sometimes they're pretty hard to watch, I think. So anyway, but that's international film. And we get one of my favorite categories, and it's one of the worst this year. It's Best Animated Films, where I only like one of the 5 movies. And of course, Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio won Best Animated Film. It's been pretty popular since even before it came out. Everybody kept talking about this movie. And when it finally came out on Netflix, I watched it and thought it was horrible. It's one of the worst animated movies I've ever seen in my life. But of course, my least favorite movie is always going to win in these categories, it feels like. So, of course, Pinocchio won. I don't know why people like it, but people like that movie. And it's stop motion action, which doesn't win very often. Whatever, it's pretty easy to predict. Like Adorn said, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On was pretty popular. If it wasn't for Pinocchio, I think Marcel the Shell would probably win. It's an A24 movie. It's a cute movie. It's got some interesting moments. It's got some comedy in it. Marcel the Shell is a very adorable character. I don't think it makes for like a good full-length movie. I think it's a good short. If they made it like a 30-minute short, it would be good. But Sea Beast is on Netflix. I'm not a fan of it. A lot of people like that movie. I don't know. I just wasn't into it. Turning Red was one of the worst movies. It's the worst Pixar movie. I'm doing my ranking every single Pixar movie. Turning Red is the last movie. It's number 26 on my list. I absolutely hate Turning Red. I think it's a terrible movie. But it got nominated. It's the one Pixar movie that got nominated. And all these movies, Disney only has one in here, Turning Red, because it really bombed with, Strange World bombed, Lightyear bombed. I guess Turning Red didn't bomb because it didn't come out in movie theaters. I think it just went straight to Disney Plus, so I guess it didn't bomb like the other ones, so it got in here. But Disney's done a really bad job because Disney usually uh, has a Pixar and a Disney animation movie in here. I mean, they dominate the animated features, and this last year it was just really terrible for Disney. You did get one DreamWorks movie in here, Puss in Boots, which I think is the best movie out of the five by far. I mean, nothing even comes close to Puss in Boots in the Last Wish, in my opinion. It was a very entertaining movie, very well animated. Um, yeah, I wish Puss in Boots would win, but I knew it wasn't going to, so I wasn't surprised or disappointed necessarily in that. But that's the way it goes. Next, we're gonna get to some of the bigger ones. We have Best Adapted Screenplay. Um, and this one, I was pretty happy I actually guessed right because I wasn't total confident. We had Women Talking winning Best Adapted Screenplay, and I predicted this, and I was kind of happy I got it right because because I thought it wasn't an easy one to predict just because Women Talking only got maybe 2 nominations, Best Picture and Best Screenplay. I mean, it didn't get a lot of nominations. I mean, nobody saw this movie. It didn't make any money in the box office. And I watched it. It's the last movie I watched really before the Oscars. And yeah, it's a very boring movie. It's women sitting around talking, and it's not that interesting to watch. uh, anyways, but I figure it's going to win Adapted Screenplay because it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of dialogue. It's a very dialogue heavy movie. So I know screenplay is more than just dialogue, but I figure dialogue is the most important part about a screenplay usually. So I figure the movie that has the best dialogue is probably going to win this category. So that's why I went with Women Talking because I knew the movie is pretty much all dialogue. I mean, can you compare Women Talking to Top Gun? Did Top Gun have that much dialogue compared? I mean, it's mostly about jets flying, and that got nominated. It's like, what was in the screenplay? And now a jet will fly and go upside down. Was that in the screenplay? I don't know. Top Gun was a weird one to get nominated, I think, in the category, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm not a fan of Women Talking, but I definitely get why it won because I don't know if the screenplay was that good, but I mean, it definitely had a lot of dialogue. I think the acting was really good in the movie. If anything, it should have got nominated for Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, which was kind of weird that I didn't get into those categories. A part of me thought All Quiet on the Western Front might win this just because it's been winning. At this point, it was winning so many awards that I thought, man, there's a chance that All Quiet would get it just because people seem to like that movie, at least in the Academy. And again, it doesn't really have that great dialogue or anything. It's mostly a visual movie. But it's like the way things are going, they might just give it to it. Who knows? Glass Onion maybe has a chance because it's definitely got a lot of good dialogue in there. It's more of a comedy movie, and it's a very original, kind of murder mystery movie. So I can see that, and there's like some twists and turns in the script. So I thought Glass Onion maybe has a chance in there, but I figured Women Talking had the best one. Living got nominated, and I know nothing about Living, so I didn't think that had a chance. But if I could gift anything, I'd probably give the Glass Onion, probably the best screenplay out of the five. But I was happy that actually correct. I got that one correct because I wasn't as confident on that category as some of the other ones. All right, now we're gonna get to best original screenplay, which I was surprised. This was one of the big surprises for me. I got this one wrong. It went to Everything Ever All at Once, and I predicted Banshees of Inisherin. I thought it was a pretty strong front runner from the beginning. I feel like it won best screenplay maybe at the Golden Globes, I want to say. Again, I wanted to go for the movie that I thought had the best dialogue or the most dialogue in it. And Banshees of Inisherin was definitely a very dialogue heavy movie. Um, it had a little comedy in it, and yeah. So I just thought, and it's got the great Irish accents. That doesn't matter, but I did like the Irish accents in there. But Banshees of Inisherin, if anything, man, cinematography, the design, set designs were really good and all that. But yeah, I was kind of surprised. I thought that was definitely, and Banshees I thought was get at least one because I thought it was one of the big contenders for Best Picture was Banshees of Inisherin. So I thought it would at least get screenplay if nothing else. Of course, there's a chance it could get like an actor or something, or Best Supporting Actress. I thought it had a chance at. But the fact that it went away with no Oscars was a pretty big surprise for me. And Everything Everywhere at Once, I never thought of as really great screenplay necessarily. I guess it was wacky. So I mean, it definitely was a wacky screenplay, and a lot of crazy stuff happened. And it was an original idea, and it was unique, and of course, it won Best Picture. My guess is because it's one of those things where the movie that you think is the best movie is usually the best screenplay and best directed movie. So usually, I guess I should have gone with Everything All at Once because I should have guessed that. Oh, they're going to go with that movie if it's the best picture. Usually screenplay and director go hand to hand with best picture, not always. Film editing also usually goes hand to hand with best picture in the past. It's not so much anymore since we have 10 nominees for best picture. Sometimes they spread out the love. So I thought this was the case where they're going to spread out some of the love and try to give it to some of these other movies to get them at least one Oscar, but I was wrong. Everything Everyone Wants just dominated the Oscars this year, and I did not see that one coming necessarily. I mean, I thought it was going to win quite a bit of Oscars, but not 7. Anyways, Fablements maybe could have gotten there. Again, quite a bit of dialogue there. Tar, I don't know. It's a dialogue-heavy movie, but I don't think it's that memorable. Triangle of Sadness is the weird one, I guess, because it's considered a dark comedy, I guess. So I thought it was just a really horrible movie. It wasn't funny, and I thought the dialogue was the worst part of the movie. In fact, I thought the conversations were just so boring. So that was a weird one to get in there, but somebody had to get in there. But yeah, so that was one of the bigger surprises for me, I guess, original screenplay. Next, we're going to get to Best Supporting Actress. I was a bit surprised, though I shouldn't have been. I kind of went back and forth between Angela Bassett and Jamie Lee Curtis. And even Carrie Condon, I thought, had a chance in this category. I thought maybe they would, again, Banshees and Sharon, I thought maybe they'd give them something. And this was such a, like I said on the night, this was the hardest category to predict. And I kind of knew I was going to get it wrong. I was like, whoever I guess, it's going to be wrong because there's just too many contenders in this category. I guessed Angela Bassett, and it went to Jamie Lee Curtis. And I went back and forth between the two. Like I said, at times I thought, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis could win it because she just won the SAG. And so when she won the Screen Actors Guild, that was the only award she won before. I thought she had some momentum coming in, and I thought, well, evidently the actors really like her. So that's a big part of the category is actors voting in this category. So a lot of times in the SAG winners are pretty good indicators. So I definitely thought, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis could get in there, could win it, and I should have gone with her. I kind of went back and forth, and at the end, I went with Angela Bassett because I thought that was a safer choice. I thought I can go out of the box. I even thought about going for Carrie Condon, kind of going out of the box. So I thought if Carrie Condon wins and I guess it right, I'd be the only one who guessed it right, and I'd be like, all right, I knew what I'm doing. But at the end, I was like, I'll go with Angela Bassett, and it was too safe of a pick, I guess. She had so much momentum going on in the beginning of the season with winning the Golden Globe and then the Critics' Choice. It was like, wow. At the time, you thought, man, maybe she'll sweep the whole award show, and if she won the BAFTA and the SAG going into Oscars, like she would be the easy pick. So it really come down to the SAG award winner because Carrie Condon won the BAFTA, so that's what gave Carrie Condon a little hope maybe in this category. But when Angela Bassett lost in the SAG Awards, that's when I kind of thought, oh, the momentum's changing from Angela Bassett to Jamie Lee Curtis. She might be the front runner now. But I thought Angela Bassett still has those 2 wins before. And I thought Angela Bassett was an actress that's been around a while. She was nominated back in the 80s for What's Love Got to Do with It, playing Tina Turner. She got nominated for Best Actress for that. And she hasn't been nominated since. So I thought this would be a good win for somebody that's, been in the business for a little while and has done a lot of solid work. And yeah, so I thought she definitely was one of those, categories where you give them a lifetime achievement award by giving them an Oscar. And a lot of people really liked her in this movie too. So I thought she had definitely a really good chance here. So I went with that. I was wrong. I should have gone with Jamie Lee Curtis. And Jamie Lee Curtis has going for the same thing. She's been in the business for a long time, for like 40 years. She was in Halloween back in 79 or whatever. And, she's not really an Oscar type actress. She does more comedies, I would say, than anything else, and not a lot of dramatic work. I would even say this performance is more comedic than dramatic. And so it was one of those things where, and I think she's very popular. When she won at the SAGs, people seemed pretty happy and excited in the audience. So there's a part of me that, I was like, Jamie Lee Curtis, I can see her winning just because they want to give to her because she's, been in business for so long. She's popular, I think, in Hollywood, evidently, or well liked by her peers. So it plays into it. And yeah, she ended up winning. And I was like, I don't know why. I'm still surprised. And I think I'm surprised just because that performance was so terrible. I thought it was a really terrible performance. If you don't know, I'm not a fan of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I thought it was a pretty terrible movie. Um, and Jamie Lee Curtis was one of the worst parts of that movie, and her character, and I didn't like at all. And she didn't do anything in the movie that was anything interesting, really. It wasn't an Oscar-worthy performance at all. So it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen that won an Oscar, in my opinion. So that's why I had a hard time predicting her, because in my heart I was like, surely they're not going to give her an Oscar. I can't imagine they're going to. I knew there's a chance because she won the SAG, but there's still part of me that was like, I just can't predict her because I don't want her to win this category, of course. And she won. Whatever, Again, Academy gets it wrong quite a bit, and this was one I think they got wrong. The other thing I thought about was, like, I was predicting Ke Kwan and Best Supporting Actor and Michelle Yeoh for Best Actress, and my thought was, surely they're not going to win 3 Oscars in the acting category. That is a very rare thing to happen. And so I thought, surely it's going to win the Best Supporting and Best Actress. So I thought, surely they're not going to give Best Supporting Actress and give it 3 wins in the acting category, because the movie is not that great as far as acting. It's just okay. So it doesn't compare to some of the other really great movies with really good actors. So I was like, surely they're not going to give it 3 in that category. So that's why I thought, I can't imagine they're going to give it to Jamie Lee Curtis. But I was wrong. My prediction was totally off. They did it. They gave him the Best Supporting Actress as well. And I think most people would agree with me. I think most would say Stephanie Sue was a better performance and should have won over her, which I would even agree. I think she had a better performance overall and more dramatic performance. Anyway, so yeah, I definitely give to her over that. I haven't seen The Whale, so I don't know much about Hung Chow and that. And Carrie Condon, she was fine in Banshees of Inisherin. I wasn't a fan of that movie. The acting's okay, and I would have loved to seen her get it because it would have been more of an underdog type role or underdog win, because Carrie Condon's not a big actress, not one I've ever heard of before. So I kind of, if I wished anybody would win, it'd probably be Carrie Condon, because I think that would have been a pretty cool surprise win, and she would have been pretty shocked, and that would have been fun to watch. Anyways, but yeah, so that was a pretty difficult category, Best Supporting Actress. Best Supporting Actor, the best category of the whole night. My favorite part of the whole ceremony, my favorite part was watching Ke Kwan win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I've said this before, I think he's terrible in the movie. I think it's a really bad performance. I don't think he's a very good actor. But watching him win throughout the ceremony was so fun because he's so excited and he has a really good story behind him. Like, he was a kid actor who then no one hired. And so he hadn't acted in like 30 years or something like that, they said. And then he got this comeback role and he wins an Oscar. So it's a really cool comeback story for Ke Kwan. And a lot of us remember him from Raiders. I think we are, like me, you have some nostalgia for for Temple of Doom, the Indiana Jones movie. So it's funny watching him and going, wow, short round. And someone said this, and I was like kind of shocked too. It was like, who would have thought out of Harrison Ford and Ke Kwan that Ke Kwan would be the one to win an Oscar? You would have bet your life that Harrison Ford would win an Oscar before Ke Kwan would, a short round. But no, here we got. That's the cool thing about award shows is sometimes you can change someone's life and their career with a nominee or a win. And this is definitely going to change Ke Kwan. I think he's going to get a lot of work now, which is, that's nice for him. I'm happy for the guy. He seems like a good guy. He seems very humble about it. And I like the underdog story about it. It's just really cool to see this guy go through that and then come back and win an Oscar. And he gave a great speech throughout the whole award season. He's given the best speeches. He's so emotional. He's, like I said, he's full of excitement, energy, but very emotional and very humble and very appreciative of the award. I mean, and there's something about that I really like. And I loved his speech. I loved his, talking about he was an immigrant from Vietnam, I believe. His parents took the family and went to like China or something like that. They had to like smuggle them out, basically, is one of those things. And then he had to live in a refugee camp for a year, which I'm sure was not fun. And then eventually they were able to get on a boat to America, which was, the greatest thing, getting to America and getting to the land of freedom and getting to do whatever you want. And so I love that he talked about that in the speech. That he came from not a normal space for an Oscar winner. Coming over from immigrant from Vietnam, going through a lot, getting to America, and then now he's an Oscar winner. And he said, "This is the American dream," and it kind of made me cry. If I'll be honest, I was crying during that speech because I was so happy for him. And I love the fact that he, talked about how great America was and the American dream of that anybody can succeed if they, try, or some luck may be involved as well. But you can't do that in many countries. But America, you can come to America and maybe win an Oscar. Not many, but some like him can. And so that was a really cool story. Anyway, so I was super excited about him. And he was definitely the favorite. He won everything except for the BAFTA, which Barry Keoghan won for Banshees and Inisherin. So, Barry maybe could have gotten there, but I didn't think he would. And I didn't like Barry's performance either, so I was hoping he wasn't going to win. But so he's a young actor. He's still got a lot of years left to get in there. Judd Hirsch from The Fabelmans. That's such an odd choice, somewhat, because he's barely in that movie. I wish Paul Dano would have got nominated. That's one. In fact, I would have given Paul Dano the Oscar. I thought he gave a great performance. Not in The Fabelmans, but in The Batman. I thought he was great. And Brian Tyree Henry for The Causeway. I haven't seen Causeway, but I like Brian Tyree Henry. I thought he was great in Bullet Train, so I was kind of happy for him to get in there. Then Brendan Gleeson would have been my choice for Best Supporting Actor for Banshees and Inisherin. Not because I like that performance, but Brendan Gleeson is one of my favorite character actors in the last, 20, 30 years. First saw him in Braveheart as Hamish. I thought he was great in that movie, and he should have gotten an Oscar nomination back then. Of course, I love him as Mad-Eye Moody in the Harry Potter series. He's really good in, but he's definitely one of those actors that anytime he's in a movie, I'm like, he's so good, and I really enjoy his performances. So I was happy he got in here. I would have loved to seen him win personally, but still, I'm pretty happy for Ke Quan. That was a really good speech and everything. I'm really happy for him. Like I said, probably the best moment of the night. Next, we go to Best Actress. I was pretty happy with this because Michelle Yeoh won, and I wasn't sure because Cate Blanchett was definitely one of the front runners for Tar. Cate Blanchett, I think, won the Golden Globe. Michelle Yeoh won the Golden Globe too. I think they won in the two different categories in the Golden Globe. And then Cate Blanchett, I believe, won the Critics' Choice Award and maybe the BAFTA. But then Michelle Yeoh won the SAG. So that gave Michelle Yeoh. I thought Cate Blanchett early on was going to win, but then when Michelle Yeoh won the SAG, I kind of switched to her, and I really wanted her to win too. So it was one of those things where, like, I think she has a good chance of winning, and I kind of really wanted to win. Nothing against Cate Blanchett, it's just that she's already won 2 Oscars, so I didn't really need Cate Blanchett to win another Oscar. And I didn't think her performance was that great in Tar. Everybody was like talking about how great she is. Like, I didn't think it was that great, but I don't know if any of these performances were that great, to be honest. But if all of them, I was happy for Michelle Yeoh because she was somewhat, again, first-time nominee, somebody who you don't think of as an Oscar-type actress. She's known for, I first saw her in Super Cop with Jackie Chan, Police Story 3, Super Cop. And then she was in Tomorrow Never Dies in that movie, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So she's mostly known for like Asia cinema action. So I thought of her as like a Jackie Chan type, actress who was a martial artist who was going to do these martial art acting action movies, which she did quite a bit of those. As she's gotten older, she's done more, I think, dramatic performances. In fact, even Crazy Rich Asians, which is a comedy, she does a more dramatic performance than that. I thought she was really good in Crazy Rich Asians. So I was happy for her because I thought she was so good in that movie that her winning for this movie to me kind of, made for her not getting nominated for Crazy Rich Asians. So I was excited for her, and I was just like one of those actresses that's been around for a while. And I've been a fan of hers throughout the, like I said, early 2000s up to now. She's one of the actresses that anytime I see her in a movie, I think she's going to give her a good performance, and she does. I mean, not like an Oscar performance, but still a solid performance, and always a good stage presence, I think. And she's somewhat of an underdog, like I said, because she's not an Oscar-type actress. So, and first time an Asian actress has won the Best Actress category, so that's definitely, groundbreaking, historical win. You don't see too many Asian actresses or actors in the acting categories too much. Of course, I said Ke Quan just won Best Supporting Actor. So we got quite a bit here this year. So that was good. See something different. See some people that you don't normally see in those categories win. That's always fun to watch. And again, she gave a really good speech, I think. Has somewhat of a cool story behind that, where she came from and how she got to this point. And so I was really happy for her. And I was happy that I predicted that win. That was another one I was like, it could go Kate Blanchett, it could go Michelle Yeoh, and I was sitting there, and when it said Michelle Yeoh, I was like, yeah, like I cheered. I was by myself at home, and I cheered like, yeah. I was pretty excited about that one. Uh, Andy Arms got nominated for Blonde. Worst movie of the year. I don't know much about that performance, but whatever. Andrea Riseborough, never heard of her, never heard the movie, knew she didn't have a chance. Michelle Williams, man, she's been nominated so many times. It's like at some point I almost want her to win just because I feel bad that she keeps losing because she's been nominated I feel like she's been nominated like 5 times or something like that in the Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress category, and it wasn't the greatest performance, but it was a fine performance for the Fablemans. She's always good though. She's like good in everything she does. So it's like, man, one of these days she's going to win one, I think. I just don't know when that's going to be because she gets close, but just can't quite do it. But yeah, so that's the Best Actress. We get to Best Actor. Another category I was very excited about. We knew it was between Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler. I think majority of people were predicting Austin Butler for Elvis, not only because they thought he was good in Elvis, and more people saw Elvis than saw The Whale, so I think people were rooting for Elvis more. He was, and it's a biopic, so I think a lot of people think because it's a biopic, he's going to win. And my music biopics are kind of hit or miss. He had like Jamie Foxx winning for Ray, and he had I forget his name winning for Bohemian Rhapsody. So you do get those wins, but people like Jennifer Hudson didn't get nominated for Respect. Chadwick Boseman didn't get nominated for Get On Up. Taron Egerton didn't get nominated for Rocket Man. So there are biopics where the person doesn't get nominated or even doesn't win. Like Joaquin Phoenix got nominated for Walk the Line, but didn't win that one. So it's not a for sure. It definitely helps sometimes when you're in a music biopic to get a nomination maybe, and even maybe get a win, but it's not a for sure thing. But I think a lot of people thought Austin Butler was almost a sure thing because it was a music biopic. And it probably helped that Austin Butler won early on with the Golden Globes, and I think he won the Critics' Choice. Brendan Fraser won the Critics' Choice. I think Austin Butler won the BAFTA, and then Brendan won the SAG. So they kind of went back and forth. So, but to me, Austin Butler is such a younger actor who hasn't really done much so far, and so I don't know. I was always going for Brendan Fraser because he seemed like he just had this much better story. Another guy, he was big back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was a pretty big actor. Starred in a lot of movies, action comedies. I knew him from the Mummy movies, was where I was a big fan of Brendan Fraser as a kid. And then all of a sudden he kind of disappeared, He wasn't getting the movie roles anymore. He wasn't getting the calls. I don't know what happened, but he kind of somewhat disappeared from the movie scene. I think he was still working in movies, but he wasn't getting the starring roles anymore, and he wasn't getting so many calls anymore. And so he has this interesting story with this comeback role where first time he got nominated for an Oscar, and he comes back with this whale and wins. So it was a really cool story. So I thought he was going to win because it would be a really good win or a good story, and it'd be a good moment at the Oscars. So I thought they'd probably go for that for that reason. It doesn't necessarily work that way, but I thought that gave it somewhat an advantage that they want the comeback win. Everybody loves to vote for a comeback, and so I thought that gave Brendan Fraser the advantage in the role or in the category. I haven't seen The Whale, so I can't say how good his performance is. From the trailer, it looks pretty good though, and he has to wear that fat suit the whole time, so it looked like a pretty difficult role. So, and I was very happy when they said Brendan Fraser. That's another one where I was just like cheering, like, yeah, Brendan Fraser, because I was so happy I got it right. Because I was like, I knew Austin Butler had a good chance. So I thought I could go for like 1 for 4 on these acting categories. So at least I went 3 for 4. Acting categories can sometimes be difficult because there could be some surprises in there. But yeah, so I was really happy for him, and he did, he's been doing pretty good speeches throughout. I don't know if this was his best speech, but still not bad. And he definitely was very emotional and stuff like that, and that's what he'd love to see. Very excited for him in there anyway. So that was a pretty cool win. And like I said, this ceremony was great just because I love seeing those actors win, and it was great seeing them give the speeches, and I was very happy for him. So that made the Oscar ceremony even better. Of course, we got Colin Farrell from Banshees and Sharon. I think he won a Golden Globe, but besides that, he hadn't done much in the role during the award seasons. So he had an outside chance, but I wasn't guessing he was going to get in there. But Colin Farrell, I don't know if he's been nominated before, but he's definitely a really good actor that should get more nominations. This is big for Paul Mescal. Never heard of the guy. After Sun is a movie like I've only heard of because Josh through the Lens talks about it so much. It's like his favorite movie of all time. Uh, so I don't know, but let's definitely give him more work. Then Bill Nye, he's for a living. Never heard of the movie really until this Oscar season, but I like Bill Nye. He's always a good, solid British actor who's done a lot of work. So good for him. But I knew he didn't have a chance in here. All right, now we got Best Director. Again, I guessed it right. It was going to go through Everything Everywhere All at Once. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, I believe their names are. And I just figured because I figured Everything Everywhere All at Once is one Best Picture. And a lot of times director goes along with it. Not always, but this was a chance I thought, yeah, I think they definitely give it to, because it definitely was, I think, a hard movie to direct. Like I said, it was a hard movie to edit, I think. And I'm sure directing was probably hard too as well. So I think they probably deserved it as far as being a Best Picture winner. I think a lot of people thought Steven Spielberg might get it for The Fabelmans, but Spielberg already has 2 Oscars, so they don't necessarily need to give it. It's like if he never won an Oscar, they might give it to him because they'd be like, Steven Spielberg needs an Oscar before he dies, I think. But the guy already has 2 Best Director Oscars, so he's doing well. It's crazy thing Spielberg has won. He's been nominated 2 years in a row for West Side Story and Fabelmans, because there was a lot of years where he was really not. I mean, Lincoln maybe it was the last one before that was which he got nominated for, but I feel like there's a lot of years in there where he wasn't really directing any big movies, wasn't really in the Oscar talk. People weren't talking about him through the Oscars, and the guy's like his late 70s. I don't know. And he's got 2 nominations in a row, so I mean that's pretty incredible. He's still putting out really great work, even as he's getting older. Todd Field for Tar, I didn't think that would have a chance. Some people thought Martin McDonough for Banshees and Sharon could get it, but again, they just struck out at the Oscars this year. And then Ruben Östlund for Trial and Sadness was such a weird nomination. Like, I would have rather seen like Top Gun director get in there, or James Cameron probably deserved to be in there more than him for Avatar. So that was a weird one, but yeah, I can't say I'm not surprised. If I had to pick, I'd probably go for Steven Spielberg. It was probably the best director out of this category, but I'm always going for Steven Spielberg though, because he's the best director I think of all time. Anyways, but yeah, so that's the best director. Not surprised by that. And then we get the best picture. Again, by the time you get to the best picture, at this point, Everything Everywhere All at Once was winning everything. They had 6 Oscars at this point. All Quiet on Western Front had 4. The Whale had 2, and then everything else had 1 or 0. So, and The Whale wasn't even nominated for Best Picture. But so it was pretty easy to predict Everything Everywhere All at Once at this point. But I had a feeling I was going to win. It was, again, it dominated the SAG Awards, I think, and the acting and so forth. And best like ensemble, and one like all the acting categories basically, or 3 of them. And so I knew that was definitely had the momentum coming in, and it's been doing pretty well throughout the ceremonies. I think it won the Critics' Choice maybe. All Quiet won the BAFTA, I think, and then Fabelmans won the Golden Globe. So there's some. It didn't dominate all the ceremonies, but it definitely was in the conversation throughout the whole. Again, it got 11 nominations, the most nominations out of any movie. So you can tell that the Academy definitely really liked the movie. and it was getting a lot of love from a lot of critics at this point, and so many people even on YouTube that I've talked to, this was like their favorite movie of the year. So I know, taking all that in, I was predicting everything all at once, and I was correct here. A lot of people thought it was going to go to like the Fablemans, because everything overall at once is definitely the weirdest movie ever to win Best Picture. I mean, I don't know how to say it. It's the weirdest, wackiest movie ever to win Best Picture. So a lot of people thought it might not win because it's too weird for the Oscars, but evidently it wasn't. That's why people thought the Fablemans or Banshees and Sharon could have been or even Top Gun or Avatar or something like that would have been a safer choice here. But no, it went to Everything Everyone Wants, which I was not a fan of. But I wasn't a fan of any of the movies. I thought it was a really bad year for Oscar Best Picture nominees. Top Gun's the only movie I thought was good. The other ones I thought were either bad to really, really terrible. Some of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Triangle of Sadness, Tar, really horrible movies. Banshees and Sharon, I really hated that movie. It really angered me. Even All Quiet on the Western Front, really good looking movie, but a little too disturbing for me, depressing to get through, and a little too long as well. Elvis, Fablemans, just too long. A lot of these movies just too long and boring for me. Everything All at Once was just too weird. It was too wacky. The plot just didn't always make sense to me. It was a little confusing, and yeah, it was a little too much for me personally. But I was glad it won because I was predicting it and all that. Obviously, if I could have given anything, I would have given it Top Gun. That would have been great, but that would have been a shock too. If Top Gun won it, that would have been one of the most shocking wins I think in Best Picture history. But it would have been fun to see that win, and that was definitely the best movie out of the category. But I'm not disappointed because I knew it wasn't going to win. Like I said, Best Picture usually goes to the movie I hate, because the movie I hate is the one, I don't know, that's more artsy, I guess, or something, or the one that the Academy likes. Like, I like movies that are entertaining or fun to watch. So the entertaining, fun movies don't usually win too often, unfortunately. I wish they would. It'd be a much funner Oscar ceremony, in my opinion. But yeah, what can you say? Everything All at Once was the one. The only shocking thing was that I won 7 Oscars. I thought I was predicting it might win like 5 Oscars, which was pretty good because we haven't had a movie really dominate in recent years. Because we once expanded the past 5 movies in the Best Picture category, it seems like it's been spreading out the love of the Oscars. So we get some where it might win 3 or 4 Oscars at most, and we've had some that I feel like maybe only won 2 Oscars and one Best Picture. So we've gotten some really weird, statistically weird wins in there. Movies that you don't think is going to win would get the win, and you'd be like, wow, it only won like 2 or 3 Oscars. It didn't really dominate. Like back in the past, you'd get like a movie that would win you 7 or 8 Oscars and just totally dominate the whole ceremony, and just you knew it was going to win. Like I think it's the last movie to really uh, do this well. It might have been like Slumdog Millionaire. I think won quite a bit of Oscars back in 2008. So I mean, you're talking 15 years ago since we had a movie kind of somewhat dominate in the Oscars. So that was weird. And Everything All at Once wasn't the movie I thought would be dominating at the Oscars. So that was definitely a big surprise. Maybe the biggest surprise is winning 3 Oscars in the acting category. I would never have thought that would win 3 Oscars in the acting categories, because it's the only third movie to do it. So it's a very rare thing out of 94 years of the Oscars. Only 3 movies have done it. So that's pretty rare and pretty incredible statistic for Everything Everyone Wants. First one did it was Streetcar Named Desire back in 1951, I think it was, which won Best Actor, Supporting Actress, and Supporting Actor. And that movie had really good acting. It's funny that Marlon Brando didn't win Best Actor, and that was a really good performance from Marlon Brando, and he didn't win the Best Actor. So that came close to winning 4 Oscars for the acting category, which has been incredible. And then the other one was Network back in '76, where it won Best Actor, Best Supporting, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actress. Which Best Supporting Actress was kind of a weak category because the actress that won the Best Supporting Actress for the movie was only in the movie. I guess you say Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't in the movie that much either, so it's kind of similar, I guess, where the Best Supporting Actress for Network was only in the movie for like 5 minutes or something, or 10 minutes, and won the Oscar, which is surprising. Jimmy Curtis might have been in this movie like 20 minutes or something like that. But uh, yeah, so if you compare this to Network or Streetcar Named Desire, I would say Network and Streetcar Named Desire are much better movies than this movie. So that's why I was like, no way they're going to give three. They're going to put this on par with those two movies and give it three in the acting category. This movie isn't really that good as far as acting wise. It's okay, but it doesn't really you know dominate or doesn't stand out like Network or A Streetcar Named Desire does, which the performances were really good in those movies. So I kind of get those movies winning it. Everything All at Once, I don't get why that won three. And that gives it like maybe one of the best Oscar winners of all time. I mean, if you were talking about the greats of all time, this is up there as one of the great movies. I mean, it's not to me, but to Oscar history. It's so that's kind of cool. So that's made it somewhat of a historical Oscar ceremony in total. I mean, one, we get a lot of Asian actor and actresses winning in categories, so that was something somewhat historical and different that we haven't gotten too much before. Of course, Parasite. I guess you go to Parasite, which was a Korean movie. Didn't win any acting awards, but won Best Director and Picture and maybe Screenplay and stuff like that. But yeah, so there's some stuff there that makes it definitely stand out in those senses. Seeing one movie dominate was interesting and all that. But overall, fine Oscars. Not the greatest. We're not. I don't know if we'll ever get another good Oscar ceremony. It seems like we don't get those anymore. But still, it's fun to see some great wins there, and it was great watching it with my friends. So yeah, so that's the Oscar ceremony. Let's see. You got Norn. I thought everybody left me, but here's Norn again. A24 is slowly growing to one of the greatest production companies. Yeah, that's another story. A24 is the big winner here, I guess you can say, because Everything Ever All Once was an A24 movie. If you don't know A24, it's like this indie movie company, I guess. They make really weird indie movies, I would say. I'm not a fan of A24. They make a lot of horror movies, in fact. People like, but I'm not a horror movie fan. Then you get stuff like Everything All at Once, which is a really weird movie, and Marcella Shell with Shoes On was another movie from that got nominated for Best Animated Movie. But yeah, Everything All at Once was a huge win for A24. And The Whale. The Whale was the other one, A24 movie that got 2 Oscars, Best Actor and Best Hairstyle and Makeup. So yeah, big win there that they got a lot of wins for A24. Yeah, so yeah, you're right, Norin. Yeah, Marcel EAO and Well, yeah, all A24. So yeah, so yeah, A24 is definitely movie company to keep an eye on going forth. Definitely, I've never heard of them till this last year. Everybody talks about them, so definitely one that every time I see A24, I know I'm probably not gonna like the movie, but I still am like, okay, it would be interesting to see what people think about this movie. See if they get more recognition next year now that they got all these wins. And you have to say, Everything Everyone Wants, All Quiet on the Western Front won like half of the awards, which is crazy. Like 2 movies just totally dominate the whole ceremony, which is kind of crazy that they didn't give some love out to some other ones. Like Elvis, I think I'm most surprised Elvis didn't come away with the win. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the Oscars. Thank you to everybody in the chats and anybody watching this in comments. I'd love to read comments what you thought about the Oscar ceremony. And yes, thank you for watching this and hearing my thoughts. It's fun getting through another award season. Now it's over. Now we got to look forward to the next one coming out next year, anyways, and get through this again, anyways. And besides that, now we get to enjoy more of the fun summer movies, hopefully, before the Oscar season comes around again. Anyway, so yeah, thank you, and hope everybody has a good weekend. Bye.